Alright fellas, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. I've got a couple 3 hours to play today, and we're going to delve deeper into this Epic Nord campaign. We rejoin Glaron Heavyhand and the newly formed heavy-handed kingdom here. We have gone independent, and we so far have been able to fight back the Nordic hordes. We're still at war with the Aserai, and other kingdoms are on the horizon, but for the short term, we're doing pretty well. Now, our characters are pretty advanced, right? This campaign is 20 years in the making, right? It's been a lot of gameplay behind the scenes, and look at our characters. He's level 26. Robert Giscard here is going to be one of our infantry captains, famous historical person as well. This is one of our Patreon supporters who asked for this character. This is custom made for one of these guys. I love doing this shit. And he'll be in the first division leading the vanguard in many cases alongside Marco. Now we're going to do character perks and whatnot. I'll talk about some of my thoughts and strategies on that later on. Maybe this episode, maybe the next one. We'll do it soon though. I know a lot of guys want to see what the mind of an experienced player does in Bannerlord. And of course, we just sacked the King's army in the last battle, fought off a huge Nordic force, and then caught him with his pants down, slapped his pee-pee here at Omar. Now it's appropriate, right? This guy here said Glaron Heavyhand was the best warlord in his kingdom, and then he tried to take him out. Bad decision, right? You know how it goes when you gamble and lose in the Game of Thrones. You might lose your head. So the king is a fugitive, and 666, our army size, that's perfect for this Glaron Heavyhand, is a devilish war leader. We've got a pretty good mixed army of Nords and Sturgeons. There's a few Battanians sprinkled in, but it has a lot more Nordic flavor, although it's not nearly as many archers as I would prefer. I'll talk about that in a second. But after running north to a castle, we were able to reload our Nordic ranks, and that suits me just fine. We're in the snow here. We're going to recruit Sturgeons all along the way, right? This is just a necessity when you're playing the Lords, the Nords. You have no choice but to pick up other kingdoms, or your army will simply fall apart due to attrition. We can take a peek here at Varcheg to see if it's siegeable, but with our family members being held prisoner still, some of our key companions at Revel, that's got to be the priority here. We've already tried once and failed. If you missed that episode, you missed a lot. Of course, we were taken prisoner after endless Nordic waves slammed in behind us. Now, I'm a little worried about Mazadon Castle here. Omar is a little bit better defended and has more militia, but at least we left some good troops there at Mazadon Castle. We're right on the edge of being too thinly stretched, and that is a thing in Bannerlord when you become independent. That's why every single troop is so essential, and we're going to fight the vast majority of battles here. In other words, even if we outnumber the enemy 2-1, at least for an episode or two, we're going to fight every battle because we need that kind of efficiency to survive. And we got Sigvatar Thodarson. This is our main healer, of course, complete with his encyclopedia entry there. Brother Joel Hall has been loyal and very, very helpful to the growth of the channel. We got to give him a place at the front of the line here, right? He'll be one of our key player clans when we begin to form player clans. Now, it looks like there's a northern force. I was going to say they're heading north to siege, but they're probably just forming before they're going to try to attack one of our locations here. Well, we're going to beat them to the punch here. And we're definitely telling every village, give us your sons, right? This is a standard practice. You need troops badly, and we'll take 20 recruits at a time, right? Because if we can fight efficiently, we'll get these guys upgraded, and the next thing you know, they're going to be Sturgeon Reavers ripping it up on the battlefield. We'll mention this quick. Off camera, I did 3 or 4 policies. I don't remember if I showed you any of these, so I'm just going to cruise through them. You'll see a consistent theme here. We're trying to improve the loyalty and security of cities. We're trying to obtain more influence because then you can pass more policies, and loyalty especially is one of the first things you need to do when you come independent. Otherwise, you will deal with constant rebellion. So take a snapshot of that if you need to. Those are 5 or 6 automatic perks, or policies rather, that you should pass when you become your own kingdom. We'll talk a little bit more about policies. In fact, let's do a few more here. There's a couple I want to do here. This one's an automatic one, right? It pays for itself in 30 days. It pays all that influence back. We want the one that gives us more troops as well. This, let's see here. Sorry, I should have my notes to speed this up. This is a good one right here, right? Increases security. You're having constant raiding. That lowers loyalty if your security gets too low. And so a lot of these are very helpful for the growth of a new kingdom. And we want Royal Guard here, right? We need our army to be big, or at least capable of being big. And an extra 60 troops is super valuable. I don't think citizenship is one we want to do. We have a lot of non-foreign cities, but this is a great one, right? Settlement militia veterancy increases by 10%. Those little tier 3 militia is pretty damn good. Anybody who's fought those recently, they're very stout. They're not, going to kill you rapidly, but man, do they hold the line, and that'll really help to have some veteran infantry, veteran militia in our cities and castles. A very beneficial perk there. All it does is cost us money, and we're fucking printing money at this stage. Now this force, I suspect, is going to attack us here. We'll see. Maybe they'll run. No, they still think they could take on the heavy hands, so it's time to teach them a lesson here. We've got an awful lot of units with throwing axes, and this Nordic force with lots of infantry is just begging to be made an example of. We do have a lot of weak troops, so we'll have to shelter some of those guys here. But this is the kind of battle where we can do a kill box and maybe, not for sure, but maybe have like 50 casualties, right? Something incredibly low. And obviously that'll supremely help our situation here. Now let's make Marco move fast. Right now he's in charge of the archers because our archer captain is taken prisoner, right? So we're working with the sort of the bench stock here. Marco is not exactly an archer captain, but you stick a good banner on him. He's got some perks, right? And at least they'll be able to fight well against this Nord force. As usual, we're outnumbered, we're slightly outgunned, but I don't think that matters at all. We're dragging our tactical tool bag here. Make sure we're on the hardest difficulty. And you guys can hear it clinking and banging along the ground as I drag this bag of tools, this tactical tool bag behind us here. It's killbox o'clock. And they could not be in the worst position than they are right now. They're downhill. They're 80% infantry. We're going to have to, let's see, we can use our weaker infantry to form a square to buttress our left flank. And let's get Marco in the 4th. But we should be able to do really, really good work here. And this is why you do tactics in Bannerlord, right? You charge this battle, maybe you win, maybe you lose. But if you win, you suffer 400 casualties, right? And you're back to the drawing board. Now, what a lot of people here would do is beg for peace, but I've already looked, and the Nords won't give us peace, right? It says they're not interested in discussing peace right now, which is good, right? That fits the role-playing element of it. That 2nd division is pretty weak. The 3rd division is peasants, so we'll just stick them way uphill. Hopefully they don't get killed with NO-CAV. And we're just going to form a standard kill box here. If you've never seen this is a tactic that we've heavily refined on the channel. I dare say we invented it in Bannerlord. A lot of people are like, you can't do that without the RTS mod. That's too complicated. It's really not once you practice this. And of course, I usually hear this kind of comment. You can't do that without the RTS mod. Unless you can see what's going on overhead. It's too complicated. Well, it's not really. Especially with practice. And then later I hear the same guy saying, damn dude, I did it. I did some practice and we crushed a force 3 times our side. And I'm like, attaboy, that's what I'd like to hear, right? This is not smoke and mirrors, folks. This shit works. Now the biggest key here is early on applying pressure so that they form a shield wall. If they don't form a shield wall, we're going to have to fight a much more bloody battle because they will come roaring in like a bunch of zombies. 700 infantry they have in their huge glob of it looks like a riot, really. There's no order. They look like a bunch of orcs just jostling and thrusting, trying to get ahead in line to get killed, and we're about to rain arrows down on them. Now we're going to micromanage the sides here. The 1st and 6th infantry are bracketing both wings. A lot of times I use archers, but we don't have as many as I want. I mentioned that earlier. I wish I had 60% archers. I really do think that is the optimal number. I wish that wasn't the optimal number. In other words, I wish archers weren't so strong, but since they are, and we're playing a brutally hard campaign, that's what I'm telling you fellas, right? They're so accurate, especially the Sky God's Chosen, because then they can switch to melee later in the fight. I don't know if you saw it out there. Hopefully you got a nice high definition screen, but I told our 6th division to open fire. Now the 1st can join it, and as soon as they did, all these front-lining skirmishers chasing shock troops and whatnot chasing our forces just insta-died in a huge heap over there. Now we can put the 1st Division astride the enemy here, and they are starting to form a bit of a shield wall. It's kind of a broken, messy shield wall, but that slows them down. That's why you want to apply this initial pressure with archers, because if they're moving at full speed, this tactic is a lot harder to pull off. Now, cavalry over there, that's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on it with that infantry division over there, the 6th and the 5th Division of archers. You can either tell them to charge, or you can basically point those archers at that cav division. And that'll mean more of those archers shoot those cavalrymen. We'll get some losses there. That's lots of good cavalry charging our ranks. You can see the death spam. In fact, some of their little peasants here are catching our archers, even with the speed bonus, because they're peasants. And believe me, you can run much faster in snow in a bathrobe than you can in armor, but it also doesn't go well for you when someone hits you with an axe. 65 cav over here. I gotta back that 6th and 5th up, but you can do it from here, right? The guys are like, you can't do it without the RTS mod. Sometimes a hill is just as good as an RTS mod, and I think I'll stay here for a little bit. Although, I gotta be able to get over that ridge and see the 5th. You need line of sight. That's why fighting on foot is much harder. You try to get infantry, skirmishers, and archers behind the enemy like we're doing here. They chase one flank, and you pound them from behind. It's like a bad porn movie. Do they make porn movies? These days it's all just clips, right? These poor kids are their attention span is that of a goldfish, and everything's got to be 4-second clips. By the way, and I won't go on a soapbox in the middle of this complicated tactics, but don't watch porn, fellas. Read about it. It's horrific for your brains. Horrific. Not bad. Horrific. They're going to ruin your sex life forever. And I'll just leave it at that. Maybe later on I'll talk more about it. The science is clear. It's extremely destructive. All right, we've got them completely in a wedge here. The only thing we don't have is cav or something to get behind them because they don't have the speed. And they have archers. Actually, their archers are right here. I'm going to kill some of these guys here. I don't know what the hell they think they're doing. You guys got a hall pass to be here? No, I didn't think so. Suffer the consequences. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Their archers are charging like their infantry. And they're completely now surrounded. Infantry on that side, archers up on the hill. The 2nd Division is in a square over there helping fend off that cavalry, and the enemy here is getting melted. They're completely in the gauntlet. We have skirmishers now all around them, and we can start to move in our weak infantry here for the coup de grace. Let's just run this 6th Division parallel. They look like they're trying to reform. The whole time, let's give them enfilade fire. Archers can be told to charge. This little cavalry guy here. I don't think so, man. They might rout. This force here is completely demoralized. They never even got... They're all blue-balled, right? They charged like 6 times. They're all exhausted and panting. All of them have an arrow sticking out of their spleen. And this Nordic force, they got absolutely dissected and destroyed in this battle. I think this battle is over. Even if they charge here, they're going to kill maybe 30, 40, 50 troops. What do you do here, by the way? What you do if they charge your 6th Division is you shield wall. With them running here, I think it actually makes sense just to charge. Right? That way, anybody who's already thinking about wavering, they get the message. This battle is over. Go back to your hovel. Sturgeons and Nords, you guys got destroyed. And this is exactly what we needed here, because now we're going to be able to attack Revel with the full force of our army. We lost maybe 40 troops in this battle. They're getting butchered, and they just got completely dismantled here. I think they're routing. I don't know. I didn't see reinforcements. Speed this along here. There's only 200 left. And there was a Civil War general that was really, really good at fighting with maneuvering. He didn't get a lot of credit. In fact, I've forgotten his name. It's a good example about how you don't remember the guys that maneuver. He didn't do a whole lot of combat. He didn't have fancy, and what I mean by maneuvering is he just kept maneuvering his army without fighting until the enemy realized we're fucking surrounded. And in some cases, that's a lot more effective than fighting. I mean, we got 800 kills here and we had 20 losses, 20 deaths. And that is a textbook destructive kill box. Obviously, there were a lot of different reasons that worked so well. We've got a good amount of skirmishers. Again, if we had more archers, we might have had 0 casualties, right? Because then you can kite even harder. Our archers are starting to run out of ammo at the end of that battle. Now, there's going to be more Nords, right? There's just no question. 100% more Nords are coming. So we want to go quick to Revel, right? We're going to siege, and I'll probably do it with minimal siege. I'm really worried about Mazadon Castle. I don't know what to do about our equipment. And what I mean is we've got a bunch of loot at Mazadon Castle. We've got all kinds of legendary this and masterwork this and stuff like that. In a campaign like this, you know, that I anticipate lasting a while, we need all this good gear, right? We're going to have to outfit all these heroes. Glaron Heavyhand is like one of those dads with 15 kids, and they all want to go to college, and every day he wakes up in a cold sweat thinking of how on earth he's going to pay for all that, right? So we're trying to figure out how we're going to make 15 different warriors here in nice armor, and I got to protect it, right? If they take Mazadon with all our shit there, what they do is they go sell it, and you never see the shit again. Or maybe, if you're lucky, you know, it's for sale somewhere. That is a thing, by the way. They literally seize your shit. I've even seen lords wear some of our equipment. It doesn't happen very often, but they'll literally put on... I've seen Nords put on custom weapons. Back when I had smithing characters, all of a sudden you see them running around with a custom axe, and you're like, hey, motherfucker, show me the receipt for that. That shit's mine. But I like that feature, right? That's a really good feature. The AI taking advantage of what it has, just like we are. And our army is filled out just like that, right? We're going to hit a couple, 3 more villages. And unless there's a whole bunch of Nord reinforcements, we're going to be able to do this siege fast. We are getting to the stage, right, where I may edit a few more of the components here, especially the monotony, right? We've already sieged Revel. We did lose. But if it's just a blowout, I'm probably not going to show you each step of the city here. I'm trying to find a nice balance between showing you fellas every minute of this campaign and showing you, you know, 9 big battles and say, there you have it. That was the whole campaign, right? We're going to try to show you a good mix of logistics, a good mix of how I manage troops and putting 6 guys over here and 19 over there. But a lot of times we're just going to skip this, right? This guy's got 106 Sky Gods chosen. So our army is becoming, you know, I was going to say a mini Doom stack. It's becoming, we'll call it a small and effective Delta Force. All right. They want to give us Isak the Terrible for 4,000. I would have paid 400,000 for this leader of our shock troops. Isak the Terrible is going to mangle some people, and there's still a wall down here, right? So we're going immediately. That does mean it's a problem to defend, right? That means that the wall down factors into auto-resolve. So if this city gets sieged and we're not nearby, that also means that the enemy can take it, and that is problematic, right? That makes this city sort of a revolving door. It's going to go back and forth because neither of us are really going to be able to defend it. It's Swiss cheese. Just knock down a few catapults here. I'd like to build at least 1 trebuchet because they'll wipe out a catapult or 2. What you're really hoping is that they wipe out the fire catapult. And you're not doing any of this unless you have good siege skills, right? The defenders will overwhelm your siege weapons. It's another reason, even if you don't spend a lot of points on intelligence, we got the fire catapult down. I recommend that you fellas boost your engineering, give it some focus points, get it to at least 150, 200, right? That way your own character is very capable. Now, I don't think we're going to have to do too much fancy shit here. There is not a single Nord army in the background. So indeed, just in case I do some editing, we may do a little editing here. Just give you the highlights, or maybe not even that, right? And we'll just keep on rolling with this campaign. Not trying to do a 300 episode campaign here. There's all kinds of other shit that fellas want to see, and I'm eager to do some other projects as well. Get Marco in the 3rd. We can do 2 divisions in the center there. And I did mention it, of course, the last time that we were in this little path here. One of the great things about Revel, it's still vulnerable from water, but generally speaking, your armies are going to be approaching from land here. You cannot form an army out in the middle of the water, right? So these armies are going to form on land, which means that at least in the short term, we can both cut them off and head back to Omar to reinforce things there. Slow baby steps here as we gain in this campaign. And I don't know if you saw that, but I see Nord forces coming. And, you know, you really want to stay ahead of them here, right? So even though it's counterintuitive, I do want to get back. Let's give them some rope here. Let's let these guys hang themselves, and let's see if we can't learn a little bit about these guys here. What do? You go back, right? You maintain the gate here. You shall not pass, right? We're going to defend this, and we're getting companions back. Of course, that's the key reason why we took Revel back. It's not the greatest place to defend. It's difficult to get to, but all these companions back is definitely worth it. And of course, a quick and easy siege. I don't know how much of that will show you. We had 30 casualties as we blasted our way through, and we're about to get stronger here. Once we get Isla back in our army, right, we will assign her to one of the main parties with her medicine skill. In fact, we're going to continue to boost her other skills here because, young lady Isla, you are going to be leading one of our player clans here. We're still baby steps in this campaign, right? Or at least in this, I guess, the formation of this kingdom. We have 3 cities and 2 castles, right? Or 3 cities and, yeah, 3 cities and 2 castles. It's just not, it's not enough to feel like we're well established and can start launching major invasions. And look at that information that we get right there. There are 2 different armies down in this direction. That's both ominous, but it's also good information for us to use. And thank goodness, right, we held this gate here, made sure that none of these armies came this direction. Now, well, there's one of the armies, Zuad. Zuad is an Aserai lady. She probably got the most striking eyes in the game. She is sieging. And let's see what we got going on here. We've got a stout army at this stage, right? In fact, I won't be surprised. Well, for sure, 527 is going to run from us. So let's give them a little bit of time here, right? We don't want them getting inside the castle. We want them coming this way. We need to annihilate them so we can quickly get down to Mazadon Castle and deal with that other Nord force. This is where the strategy of Bannerlord comes along. I bet those 2 armies will attack us. Our army is not so strong that they have to have 1,200 here. We still have some mediocre troops. We still have recruits. We'll see what happens here. They're running. Damn, what you don't want them is getting around us here, right? We've got to be the gatekeeper. So you're sort of forced to corral these armies. And perfect. They're turning their attention to us. Do some last minute upgrades here. We don't have our healer captains. Our medicine chieftains are not with the army yet, but I still think we have a good enough force here. They're infantry heavy. Surprise, surprise. And I'm of the belief that the Nords are the easiest kingdom to beat once you have good skirmishers and ranged units. Well, and a bag of tactics like we do. If you don't have tactics, the Nords are probably hell to face because their lines are tough. They've got all kinds of nasty shock troops and infantry. And I think we could try a little different tactic here that'll be almost as effective as a killbox. In fact, it might even be the same battlefield. And they just barely are favored in the power bar. What do you think that means, right? They have a 0% chance of winning. And as a content creator, you know, you're never really sure how much of this to show you fellas. I get a lot of guys that are like, I want to see every minute of the campaign. They want to see the ins and outs. You know, they're enjoying the campaign. They get engrossed in the storyline. I'll do my best to mix in the relevant stuff and also edit it for the people who just are not interested in watching a 300 episode campaign. It's amazing to me, and it's humbling to me that you guys want to listen to me talk tactics for hours on end. Some guys say they sleep to the channel, which amazes me. But it's all very humbling. I appreciate it. And I'm trying to curate that balance so that as many people, right? I'm a utilitarian, right? Whether it's George Bentham or some of the other utilitarians of the late 1700s, this was a philosophy that the job of government is to do the most amount of good for the most amount of people. It's not a complicated process to think about, right? It's basically, let's make sure that most of the people participating in a government, because it is voluntary, are receiving the most amount of benefits, right? So it's my feeling that when I make these episodes, I want to try to engross, entertain, educate as many people to the highest degree. And of course, that's an impossible needle to thread, but we're going to do our best. Here, let's just do a very standard square formation with archers and skirmishers to the flank. This kind of tactic, I would say, is 2 steps down or 3 steps easier, so to speak, than doing an advanced kill box. Not nearly the troop movement is necessary here. I've got 2 different squares, although this square, there's a whole bunch of guys with no armor. We're going to have Robert Guiscard here, right? He's going to lead our 1st Division, and he's going to take it like a man, right? They're going to stay there in a square while the rest of our units attack the flanks. Archers shoot the sides, and then shock troops come in for the coup de grace here. We've got a nasty-looking division. And with Isak the Terrible in charge of that division is becoming a ferocious division indeed. From the difficulty standpoint, right, I'm going to move to level 3 after this episode. It feels like we're getting ahead of the game, and we don't want to just rip through Calradia in 20 episodes, right? We want to make sure that the game is difficult. Of course, it was only a couple episodes ago that we did everything we could, and we still got captured. So finding the balance there as well. Obviously, we could just play vanilla and truck the whole campaign in 10 episodes, but where's the fun in that? We did that already in the Battanian campaign. If you want to see just a forced slaughter everything in sight, when the DLC, or rather when the 1.3 patch first came out, I did a Battanian campaign for 15 episodes, and it's the most thrashing you'll ever see in a Bannerlord campaign. Everything gets incinerated against a good Battanian force led by a tactician. It's unbelievable how powerful it was. It just melted everything. And so we've got to use some mods here. Now all I'm doing is kiting with the 1st Division, but it's very temporary. We're going to square those guys. The skirmishers are here on the flank. That 1st Division is just going to hold the line there in a square. Over here we've got skirmishers uphill with shock troops behind them. I think any of these little Nordlings coming here with their rope-bound shields are going to have any chance against Warfangs? I don't think so. They're getting hammered with archers. The skirmishers are working, and now we can get our bloodlust on here. I mean, he warned you, run while you can. Now you don't have a head, you can't run. And Glaron Heavyhand, I don't know, I guess we could nerf our main character, but it is fun just having a god mode character. He is unbelievably powerful, and a lot of these battles, he's barely getting scratched. We're obviously going to need to face some bigger foes. So there are other kingdoms that are bigger than the Nords. That's going to loom into this campaign. The Vlandians always seem to have a way of gathering huge armies. I saw an army earlier in this campaign, a single army of 72 or 7,600. It was unbelievable. I've never seen an army like that, and this is with only a modicum of mods. It was the most amount of lords I've ever seen in one army. Usually lords will, maybe 15 is a large army, a really large army. This was Isagun, the queen of the Vlandians, and she had 32 armies. I've never seen anything like it. So, we'll see. We'll see how big these armies get, and we'll see if we meet our maker. It's going to be difficult. We'll enjoy the good times while they last. We'll cut you down. And we're still leveling, right? We're still building in the characters here. We're still building in the story. There will be twists and turns, just like this rolling shield. Right now, we're rolling. But that doesn't mean that shield's going to roll forever, and neither will our army. Don't know what these guys are doing other than deciding they want to go to Valhalla on an express plane. We'll help them out here. They're moving up to shoot, and as soon as they got their feet set, after a few heads were lopped off, they decided otherwise. And a little different tactical approach here, but the same result, right? This Nord force screaming and running for the hills, minus some body parts. Not quite as effective as the killbox. The killbox is, I think, the best tactic in Bannerlord. You combine a killbox with the reverse slope decline, and you've got it figured out. Our companions really aren't even getting that many kills because the enemy's insta-dying, and of course, some of them are still leveling up. Eric the Red is like level 12 or something like that. So we've got some leveling to do still. And just like that Keep Siege, which I'm probably going to cut out because it was a blasting, we are going to start to mix in a little bit of editing. Usually, I won't always remember, but usually I will give you guys either the ESPN highlights or I will kind of tell you what happened. And that's the easiest way for me to simplify and truncate this campaign so that it's entertaining, engrossing, and watchable. And yet, we're not just skipping to the final battle against 5,000 or whatever. We're still building in our characters here, and it's not like we're just overwhelming the map either, right? We've got to build some player Some player clans and 1,600 loom here, right? So we just got our companions to join. It's time to put them in their proper places because we may need them here. This is going to be a huge battle. And don't forget the reinforcement system, right? We've already seen it recently. That can always change battles, and that's one of the best parts of the mod, is that there's no certainty. We'll get Isla. Isla's one of our Patreon supporters. This gal says she's in college, but she says she watches 2 episodes a night, which I'm not sure how that's possible since we only make 1 a day, or 1 every other day sometimes, but I appreciate it, young lady, and thank you for supporting our Patreon. We've got her character in here, and this is just characters copy-pasted into this campaign with the exception of now, of course, we're leveling and we're making you even better, Isla. I'm sure you're an amazing person and probably a great leader in your own campaign. Now wait a minute, there's even more troops here. So they got reinforced, fuck. 600, we're gonna be outnumbered. Let's see, what do we do here? I don't want the garrison to be completely whittled down. I think we just launch 250. We're gonna be outnumbered about 2 to 1. The garrison's causing a lot of damage here, and that's because there are some of our best troops there. The flip side of that, of course, is that means we're suffering casualties to those troops, which sucks. We're very much in a race here to build up this army, and look at this army here, right? This was Merrick was in charge of this temporarily, buddy. You may be in charge of a party later on. I appreciate all of the fellas that are giving me characters for this campaign, but we're going to put a woman in charge of that division, and hopefully she leads like, one of the great women leaders, Elizabeth I, or Catherine the Great. I happen to love that historical period, the 16 to 1800s, and there were a number of great women leaders. In fact, one of the women that was really key to the exploration and explosion of the British Empire was Queen Anne, who gets very little sun from historians, which is quite unfortunate. All right, let's see what this looks like here. Might be a bridge battle. I'm not sure. Cranny Rog is close to the water, but bridge battles favor us no matter what, right? And you know what? This is very similar to, I want to say 3 episodes ago. We're a little further away, but I think this is going to work. Now, we could try to get cute and use the bridge over here, but I think what makes sense is to try to rush to that ridge. We'll see what the enemy does. They're likely to charge. If you're wondering AI behavior, when they outnumber you this bad, they usually charge, right? They're going to have us outnumbered about 2 to 1. And Isla is not much of a fighter, right? She's a healer. We'll keep her in the 4th division. She helps that archer division survive with that decreased taken melee attack damage banner. We've got Marius the Impaler. He'll have a major role in the skirmishers at some point. And a 6th Corps here. We need more shock troops here, right? When you've got Isak the Terrible leading those guys, you want those guys to do terrible things. And we're in a bit of a race here at the beginning of this battle. There's some infantry mixed in Isla's division, but that's okay, because she has that decreased taken ranged attack damage banner. I don't mind a few infantry being mixed in, and also it gives that archer line a little bit of defense. Alright, let's move up. It does look like they're advancing. I should have probably charged from the outset here. That little sun ring, by the way, or that little ring around the moon, I like that effect, by the way. That is realistic to life. And what it actually is, if you've ever seen a halo around the sun, or especially it's predominant over the moon at night, that means you got rain coming. I happen to be a weather nerd. I study weather. I read all about it. Those are ice crystals from an oncoming cloud system. Just in case you wanted some additional random bullshit with your episode today. All right, let's move these archers up here. They're kind of trying to flank us with some cavalry, but it's a small amount, so I don't want to expend a lot of resources on it. Oh, shit. We've got to give... Robert, we got to give you more troops than 20 for a square. We're going to try to square right at the mouth of this little path here. If we can close in a square and get a bunch of troops up here and then hold the enemy from bursting over this path, that'll make a lot of their archers stuck on the ridge and they won't be able to help them. They've got a bunch of cavalry here too, so we're going to have to move fast. That guy did a cartwheel. He got blasted. Let's get the 6th Division up here, and we got to get this square here fast. I want these guys throwing weapons immediately so that it slows down the enemy roll here. They're pouring in here, and there's going to be a fuck ton of enemies. They have over 1,000 troops on the battlefield here. Young lady Tyra's gaining some levels. She's going to be a tyrant when she gets leveled up. She's a huge character like her dad, and she's a shock troop. Let's get skirmishers moved in here on the flank, and we have them pinch something fierce. It's a lot of infantry to pinch. It's just a huge wall. It looks like a giant zerg, but their archers can't set up here. We've got skirmishers and shock troops. They're not going to be able to set up, which means that they're going to be running for their lives while we kill their infantry. Let's move in the 6th and 3rd here. We've got archers flaying everything. And these Nords couldn't get set up in time. We beat them to the punch here, just barely. I mean, we're 10 seconds from being too late, but we're not too late. Better late than never. Charge. We're going to have to get vicious here. I want the shock troop to help me with this cavalry mass. There's a huge amount of cavalry here. Archers are lighting up the landscape with fire arrows. It's a fucking glorious, epic scene. And the enemy's just wedged in there, packed in like dead sardines. Horsemen are exploding. Glaron Heavyhand is smiling. Underneath all the blood and his beard and mustache, he's smiling because horses are being chopped to pieces. Looks like meat's back on the menu, lads. And what doesn't he kill? God, he's just destroying. He destroys horses, but he also destroys everything else. I can pretty confidently say I've never had a character that felt so overwhelmingly powerful on the battlefield. They just brought in a bunch more reinforcements, but they're not going to be able to get here in time before we annihilate all their forces. We're going to be able to get archers up on this ridge and chase any troops that try to regroup. Let's push archers up onto this ridge here. That 1st Division here can wedge in and close it off to any guys trying to get out. And let's chase them down with archers here and do more damage. This infantry, you guys aren't making it. There's 600 troops in the valley, but they're going to take a while to get here. We're going to be able to exterminate all their friends. I love breaking shields, but sometimes you just gotta kick these stubborn infantry. He does 3 and I do 135. I mean, it's God mode. This is vanilla, but it feels like God mode. And now we have the river held. The enemy's tactically fucked here. They have no chance. And some of them just routed. That guy just said, "We're overwhelmed." Let's embarrass this poor sod here. Let's kick him 5 or 6 times. Shoot him, boys. Get your target practice. Gets shot right in the butt. Now, how come this battle isn't over? This is actually very similar to the last time we fought in this location. They reformed a huge line there. And I think the battle's over. Every time your troops yell, that's troops routing. They're not leaving, though. All right, well, let's move up here. Let's finish them off. We've got an incredible line here. There's cavalry here. The battle should be over. I guess we could see if annihilating this cavalry makes them bleed. They're running sideways like they want out of here. And these guys are literally charge, retreat. Charge, retreat. Now they want some. All right. We got our archers halfway across, but they can... Oh, shit. They got to open fire. Shoot, boys. Oh, shit. My character looks like he has a cross of flames as he runs around. That was fucking gnarly looking. He is the demon. This guy is like the devil reincarnate. You can almost hear the movie... The Exorcist, and Who are you? I'm the devil. If there is a devil in this campaign, Glaron Heavyhand is it. Some people thought that the Baron in the last campaign was the devil, right? Because he had this insane ability to escape impossible situations. He's a very ominous character. It was a lot of fun building in the Baron. If you've never seen the Epic Vlandian campaign, I recommend it. It's the most complex storyline, the most story-driven in Bannerlord campaign you'll ever see. I was literally, you know, spending hours just writing out the plot and planning cutscenes and twists and turns. Of course, some of it is contrived here. But, you know, that's the nature of a storyline, right? J.R. Tolkien knew all along that Frodo was going to get captured by the Nazgul on the slopes of Mount Doom, and the Dark Lord was going to triumph and burn down the entire Middle-earth. He had that plot all along, and then his brother's like, dude, people don't like a sad ending. Don't write that storyline. He's like, yeah, but it'll be great drama. And they're like, your book's not going to sell. Have the good guy win. He's like, all right, fuck, all right. Now, they're holding resolutely here. Right? They got archers supported by a wide spray of infantry, and unlike the last time, they're not showing any sign of routing here. So, we're taking a beating here as our troops move up in shield wall, but we've got archers on both flanks. I can bring the 3rd Division in here behind the 6th Corps. And I approve of this, right? It's heartening to see the enemy make a stand. They're basically saying, fuck no, we're done running. I like this, right? For a challenge perspective. But we've got the medicine for what ails us here. Open fire with both archer flanks. The 6th Division is moving in and behind us. Guess who it is? Come get it. It's Isak the Terrible with fucking 80 Skjoldberstiers and Ulfhednars. Yeah, eat that square, boys, because you guys are dinner next. In come the shock troops, and out go the Nords. And their morale is starting to finally give. They gave it a good last try, but we've just got too much tactics for this Nord force. Too much good troops, too much tactics. And they got shredded. And now they're getting chased down by shock troops and just pounded into the snow. And right now, we have the Nords very much against the ropes, like Mike Tyson with Pinklin Thomas, 1987. I was 8 years old or something like that. I was 87, I guess I was 11. And I've never seen a guy get his ass kicked so bad in a boxing match. Of course, he was a pro, too. Pinklin Thomas was a champion boxer, and Mike Tyson just embarrassed him from the outset. Maybe I'll interweave one of my favorite 5 seconds here to show you the kills real quick. Here is another Nord force. They don't just lose, they get obliterated. Now, we're suffering casualties. We are slowly losing to the war of attrition here, but I think the Nords are suffering worse. We've got a lot of their lords captive here, and it's starting to get pretty grim in Nordland. They may even beg us for peace soon, right? At this stage, the Nords are reeling. Now, the only thing on their side that I would say is they're not at war with anybody else. We are, right? The AI does factor that into diplomacy. When you're at war with multiple kingdoms and your opponent is not, they won't give you peace, right? Because they're hoping, they're counting, it's built into the system, and it's a good system that you're going to get attacked by other people. We shall see. I think I mentioned it, but we're at war with the Aserai still, and the Vlandians loom large, right? It's a matter of time before we're at war with the Vlandians. So, you want to stay tuned if you want to see more carnage in this series. Our little realm here is starting to slowly expand. Please hit that like button on the way out, friends. I appreciate you fellas. There's a hype button too, I guess. You guys can hit that. That always helps drive more people to the story. And with all that said, I will see you, friends, next time.